All right, I believe we are live. It's saying we are live. I don't know if we're live. I'm going to go click here and see if it is a healthy stream. And
healthy stream.
Yes, we are live. It got the healthy stream.
Sounds like some old man bladder problems or something.
All right, so let's get into it. We are going to be talking now. Actually, you know what? Why don't you? I'm going to have you lead off because I'm going to go and share this on Facebook while you lead off. But we're going to be starting off with, and as I said before, you can feel free to chime in, give us any questions, anything that you have, any topics that you want us to talk about. Throw it in the comments. We'll put it on the screen. We'll talk about them. If you have any fantasy questions or anything like that, you can also post them on the screen. We'll put them on there, and we will talk about those as well. But the first game that we're going to be talking about right now is going to be the Falcons at Vikings. I want to hear the Bryman's pick of who he thinks is going to finish the top dog in that game.
Okay, so this gets our annual bet started off too, right?
It does.
So
yes.
Are we going to include our Jets-Bills prediction? We might as well, right? We both kind of picked a. Did you give an actual score? I did.
The Bills
for Jets-Bills. Yeah.
I did. Yeah, I did.
Okay, then we can include that one too. We should include that. So that'll be like our fourth bonus pick.
But we both pick the Jets to win though?
We did.
Yeah.
So I guess it doesn't really matter.
Doesn't really matter. I mean,
I guess
I'll put it here. I'll put Jets, or it's actually Bills at Jets.
Yeah.
What did you have?
I had 16-13 Jets.
Okay, so 16, and I had 21-18. I think.
18 sure.
To 21.
It's basically the same thing.
yeah. And then we'll go after that. We'll do Falcons. Or I'll just put ATL at MIN.
Yeah.
All right. Go ahead. Go.
All right. First actual real predictions of the season. This is exciting. It's so great that we're actually back here again talking about football. I mean, don't get me wrong. I love baseball and the NBA, but man, football I think is probably where a lot of our bread is buttered. We have a lot of fun with it. But so we got Falcons at Vikings to lead off. I've been thinking about this game. This one's tough because I'm not high on the Vikings, to be honest. And I am a little bit higher on the Falcons this year. But this particular game at home, I see the Viking fans being really fired up. I'm a little bit more optimistic about Kirk Cousins going into year two. He did not have a great year one with the Vikings, but I like him.
Yeah, I mean, his numbers were really good.
No, numbers were good, but let's be honest, in the big pressure situations, there were issues.
As they always have been. He's never really shown up on big games, on the big
right.
stage.
Yeah, right, but he still got paid. It didn't stop him from getting paid. But you know what, though? The guy's still a good quarterback. I do like, strangely enough, I like the Vikings in this game, and I know I'm shooting myself in the foot here by saying I think that this is going to be a shootout, especially on the heels of what we just saw last night. Given that, week one teams are shaking the rust off. But I don't expect this to be a defensive battle. I expect these teams on the turf, in the dome, to open it up. I'm very excited from a Vikings perspective to see what a healthy, ready to go Dalvin Cook has to offer for this team. I wish I had Dalvin Cook in some of my fantasy leagues. I do not, unfortunately. It wasn't for lack of trying, but the draft just didn't fall that way for me in a couple occasions. But I love his explosiveness. He was a favorite college player of mine too, because he's a Florida State guy. So I'm very excited to see what he does. Listen, they're going to throw the ball all over the field too. They're very similar, I guess. They're probably a more talented version of what the Jets have in terms of, except for the running back. Bell's better than Cook. But you've got guys like Diggs, you've got guys like Thielen, you've got Kyle Rudolph, you've got Dalvin Cook. They're going to spread the ball all over the place. And I suspect they're going to put up a lot of points, as I think the Falcons will put up a lot of points too, because, listen, they're going to throw the ball too. They're going to chuck it. One thing that worries me about the Falcons a little bit more than in years past is they don't have that safety valve of a guy in Tevin Coleman anymore. This is really Devontae Freeman's offense now. And I'm not a huge fan of his. I mean, I think he's a good player, but I don't trust him on his own, I guess, so to say. I liked it better when he had Coleman and they had that nice balance between the two. It's not like, and I wouldn't say that about all tandems. Like, I think Alvin Kamara is going to thrive without Mark Ingram there, but Devontae Freeman, I think, won't be quite as well off without a guy like Tevin Coleman. It just worries me a little with the focus being on him that much. But I really like the Vikings to move the ball up and down the field in this game. I think they're actually going to score over 30. Mm-hmm. And I actually have them 33-25 over the Falcons. I think they're going to, not in a walk, but I think they're going to win pretty comfortably, and I think there's going to be a lot of points on both sides.
Well. We are in a similar situation here. I am with you that I do think that the Falcons having Devontae Freeman being healthy, but they don't really have a good tandem guy to kind of help him out. Whereas the Saints, they actually have Latavius Murray to help out Alvin Kamara. So I do think I do think that that's a big deal. But Vikings, on the other hand, Dalvin Cook. I don't know why I started talking about the Saints.
We're the Alvin Kamara thing.
Yeah. So the Vikings, on the other hand, Dalvin Cook is a really, really talented running back. I'm looking forward to seeing, just like you, how he does by himself. But the thing is that really separates these two between the Falcons and the Vikings, I do believe, are on the defense side of the ball. And I think that the Falcons defense is a little underrated from last year. I think they have a decent defense. But when you look at the offensive weapons on both sides, you have Diggs and Thielen and Rudolph. And you have on the other side, you have Sanu, you have Ridley, you have Jones. You have all three of those guys, and Hooper, who's actually a decent tight end.
Very good tight end.
I look at those two teams, and I'm like, you know what? They're pretty balanced. I do think that Matt Ryan is probably I still think he's a little overhyped. I do think he's a very good quarterback, but he passed for almost 5,000 yards last year and still only got them like 7 wins. It was pretty bad. A pretty bad situation last year. Now, the Vikings, on the other hand, they underperformed as a team. And I can't really put that all on Kirk Cousins' shoulders because he threw for 4,300 yards last year, had 30 touchdowns and 10 interceptions. Yeah. Now that can't be. That's a good year. That's not like it's not an MVP type season, but that's a good year. You can't really blame Kirk Cousins too much for all of those issues.
I mean, when you consider that it was his first year too.
Yeah.
It was a good first campaign, but you want to see him take that next step, and you want to see him win big games.
And I think that this first game is going to be a good step in the right direction. I expect the Vikings to win as well. I have them win 28-20. I think that you're going to see. I think you're going to see the defense of the Vikings being more menacing than the Falcons' defense. I think that the Falcons' defense is going to be decent to good, but the Vikings' defense is going to be good to great. And then you also add Thielen and Diggs and Rudolph. And Rudolph, if he's ever used to his potential, he could be like a top 4 a tight end. That's how good he is. He is a really talented tight end. He's got good hands. He's got he's just a big body. So he could be a really, really good option, especially for people in fantasy. If you don't have like one of the top tight ends, like the Ertz and the Kelseys out there, you wouldn't be hurt too much by having Rudolph. So I expect the Vikings to win, basically because of their defense, but I do have them putting up some points because they do have a high-powered offense. So I think it's going to be 28-20, and I wouldn't be surprised if one of those touchdowns was a defensive one. So, all right, let's get into the second game, which we haven't talked about this ahead of time, but I believe for most people that this is probably the Steelers versus the Patriots in New England. And this is a Steelers team who is, definitely not having Le'Veon Bell. Definitely no more Antonio Brown. This is a Steelers team that still looks like they're going to be pretty darn good, though. They have a better defense than they did last year. Something that we complained about them was being a little bit too much finesse on defense and not really smash mouth. And I think that they're going to get a little bit more into that this year. And then you're also having Ben Roethlisberger with not having anywhere near as many distractions in the locker room, which is always good. Tomlin's going to be excited about that too. So I think you're looking at a team that typically starts the year really well. That they start the year, and as the year goes on, you start to see a couple of the holes in there, and that's when the Patriots come in and step on their throats right as you're going to the playoffs or you're in the playoffs, and that's what's going to happen. I think that you're going to see something very similar, unfortunately. I think that the Steelers are going to win this game because it's early, and the Patriots, who typically start off slow, and as the season goes on, they get better and better and more tight. I think that you're going to see something very, very similar as you do most years, and I think that the Steelers will win on the road because I also don't think the Patriots care if they lose a game at home. They're not like they just want to. They want to the first month of the season. They're all about let's tighten everything up. So this way we go through we're going to still win 1 or 2 games, so we're not going to be like behind the 8 ball.
No, their worst case scenario is they'll be 2-2 after the first 4 games.
And then what'll happen is they're going to rail off like 7 games in a row, and then they'll lose one to a big team that's and then or they'll lose to like the Dolphins in Miami.
That will not happen for sure.
And then what'll end up happening is they just go through and just start plowing people over as the season goes on, and they get stronger and stronger. So that's what I expect, and then they'll probably get Gronk back too. So that'll be something that'll also throw some fuel on the fire.
That's definitely happening.
Yeah. So I think that the Steelers win 21-17. I think it's a close game. I don't think it's going to be high scoring, but I do think that the Steelers win.
All right, I actually have the Patriots winning this game.
Yeah.
Mostly because even though you no longer have, well, I'm not even going to mention Lev Bell because he wasn't there last year either.
Right.
So. But you've got Connor, and I'll make this clear.
James Conner's a decent running back.
I just don't think, from a production perspective, there was that big of a drop off.
Although we did get a comment last week that he was like, "Oh, we went from third, like what was it, 8th in the league in rushing to like 31st. You dropped so many." And I looked at it, and it actually wasn't because the year not last year where they had Connor, the year before that when they had Bell, they were actually like I think 24th. In rushing. And I don't think he was there for the full season, but still, they were still 24th. The year before that, I think it was in 2016, was the year that they actually were 8th. So his facts were a little skewed and not really 100%. He didn't really clarify what they were, but I posted that back. Bryman, he responded once, and then I responded the next time, just to kind of let him know that his facts were a little off. So I do think that Connor is, and he missed 3 games last year too. So
yeah,
I mean, it's
right.
not
and I think I made that point to him too. Like if you took Connor's trajectory without missing those 3 games, he was going to give you 1,200 yards and double-digit touchdown, which he did anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, it was. I'm sorry, but look, we all like Le'Veon Bell's skill set. But James Conner filled in very, very adequately to the point where, let's put it this way, if the Steelers don't win a Super Bowl this year, it's not going to be because of their running game. All right, let's put it that way.
Yeah.
Now,
I'm in agreement.
But here's the thing, though. You are still without Antonio Brown. And I think one of the things that made Juju Smith-Schuster so dangerous last year was that he did have Antonio Brown opposite him. Juju's on his own for the first time now. He's got James Washington opposite him. They do have Vance McDonald, who I think is a very, very good tight end, and a guy who's really growing well into that role. But you are definitely down a significant weapon on that team. There's just no doubt about it. You can say whatever you want about Antonio Brown in terms of what's going on from the neck up with him, but a productive, consistent player he is, and that is a significant loss to that offense. So you are going to miss some firepower there. And what worries me is that the Patriots defense, I believe, has gotten better since last season. And they ended last season giving up only 3 points in the Super Bowl to the high-powered Rams. And I think the Patriots, this is where I think the Patriots are going to be a very boring and unspectacular team to watch this year, but they may end up winning another Super Bowl, even though that's not my prediction, but they very much could. Because defensively, I think they're going to be really good. They're going to be pretty stout on the line. They will get some turnovers, and they will be that sort of bend, don't break, but maybe even a little better than that. That's kind of actually been their MO in years past, is they've been sort of this bend, don't break. But I think they're actually just going to end up being a really good defense. Because by the time last season, if you recall early last year, their defense stunk. And we kept saying this was going to be the thing that keeps them from winning a Super Bowl, was their defense. Nope. That defense is why they won a Super Bowl. So things can change quickly. Now I think you have to look at their defense as a very stout unit and something that's going to be very tough to contend with. So I actually have this game as 20-17 Pats at home. They get their rings. They drop another banner. Their ridiculous a-hole fans go nuts, and they enjoy another great night in Foxborough in Satan's lair, and all is well in New England for the Patriots.
If Patriots fans were pizzas, they'd be cocksucker supremes.
Do you not have? Can we not bleep that anymore? Since we're in the earmuffs,
it's too late. It's too late.
Oh,
it's been
that's
created.
how it exists.
It's been created, and that's how it is again.
Oh.
Yeah. I like it better with the bleep.
Just say it.
No, I like it better with the bleep. I do. So I actually posted the comment that was out there. It wasn't a drop off by the Big Shay 88. Wasn't a drop off with Bell 7th rushing without 31st. And that is not 100% accurate. It's not. I mean, they're 2 years apart. So totally different team, totally different style. Like how they were going to approach. When they lose Lev Bell and they go in with Connor, they're probably thinking, we're probably not going to rush the ball 30 times anymore. We're going to probably have to throw a little bit more. And, they probably did. If I looked at the carries to carries, I'm guessing, I haven't, but I'm guessing that they would be different. And I would guess that Ben Roethlisberger probably threw a lot more than he usually does. Because I know there was a time where they didn't want Ben Roethlisberger throwing more than 30 times. And I think he did that a lot last year. So, all right, let's move on to the next one, which is also going to be a great game. And it was also a contention for... And that was the Texans. I really did. Texans versus the Saints. I think that this is going to be the only game worth watching on Monday night. And I think that it should be an entertaining game, which I'm glad because I didn't really feel like staying up anyway. And I don't want to watch the Broncos play because I think they're just going to be horrible to watch. So that's the 10 o'clock game on Monday, I think. And then this is a 7 o'clock game. And I think that this game right here is going to be kind of like, you're seeing the old replace the new. And that's kind of because you're going to have the Texans who haven't really made a ton of noise over the course of the last several years, whereas the Saints have kind of been consistent with Drew Brees at quarterback, but he's getting older. He looked exhausted towards the end of the year last year. It seemed like he was having a rough go especially late in the year. And he just didn't seem to have the same energy, and he was getting hit a lot more. And that, an old quarterback, I can see how that could take its toll on you. I think the Texans, on the other hand, with Hopkins, and they have Kenny Stills too. They have a load of offensive weapons. Now, granted, their running back situation isn't as good as they want to be, but in this league, especially with Deshaun Watson as your quarterback, you don't really need a top tier running back, and Lamar Miller wasn't that anyway. And you can find a level of Lamar Miller probably anywhere. To get a B- running back in this league, it doesn't seem to be that hard to do. It seems like you can find somebody off a scrap heap somewhere and plug them in, and they'll get you close to 1,000 yards and help offset, some of that pressure that Deshaun Watson's going to get. And their defense is still really good, even with the loss of Clowney. They still have a good defense. So I like the Texans. I think the Saints they're going to be kind of shaking off the rust in the first game. And yes, they are at home, and they're a team that typically plays really well at home, and they like playing at home. But I think as a statement game, and I think that as a team that is trying to really assert themselves in the league as a top contender, I think the Texans are going to end up taking this one home. I think the Saints end up coming up a little bit short. Maybe even with a last drive, they don't quite get there. I have the game Texans winning 30-24.
Well, at least you and I are going to have some opposite picks this week.
Oh,
I don't like picking against the Saints at home.
It's tough. That was a tough one. I really was taking that into heavy consideration, but I'm like, it's early. I expect all these teams that are like awesome to be rusty at the very beginning. So
that dome, their whole environment there. I don't like that for the Texans. The Texans, let's keep in mind, their roster has had quite a significant overhaul on two sides of the ball. Mm-hmm. On the offensive side, they've added now a cornerstone left tackle in Laramie Tunsil, who's going to be there protecting Deshaun Watson's blind side for probably many years to come. Good on them. But then you lose a big presence like Jadeveon Clowney on defense, which is going to hurt your pass rush a little bit. He's a guy who probably would have come in pretty handy against Drew Brees, an older, slowing down Drew Brees, as you kind of.
And they can double J.J. Watt more. I mean,
yes, they can, and I think J.J. Watt is another guy who's also kind of.
He's up there
I think the injuries are starting to pile up, and I think there's
he was healthy last year. That was good.
But I don't know that he's the same guy. I mean, he's certainly not prime J.J. Watt. 15 to 20 sacks J.J. Watt causing massive disruption. I don't think he's that guy anymore. I think he's still a very, very good player, and I would be shocked if he still didn't give you like 10 to 15 sacks. But I don't know if he's like
just 15 sacks.
Right. I just don't know if he's that.
You don't know if he's going to be providing the 20.
I just don't know if he's defensive MVP kind of crazy anymore. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But this game, I'm going to be interested to see, kind of the sort of really letting Alvin Kamara loose, kind of for the first time. Without Ingram as a handcuff for him, because they were really close to a timeshare, really the past couple of years.
Yeah,
and now this is Alvin Kamara's team in that backfield. Yes, he's got Latavius Murray, but Latavius Murray will be more of a give Alvin a blow kind of.
Oh yeah, but I think he could help like Ingram did.
Oh sure, no doubt about it. But this is no timeshare anymore. This is Alvin Kamara. This is Alvin Kamara's team.
It would be like a 22 carries to 10 carries kind of deal.
Yeah, sure. There you go. So I think you're going to see Kamara get fed the ball a lot. Keep in mind, Alvin Kamara is still a young man, and actually, the fact that he's been in a timeshare for the past couple of years will benefit him because he's got a lot of tread on the tires. Mm-hmm. And I am not convinced at all that Drew Brees is done yet. I still think
I don't think he's done.
Yeah. I think there's actually quite a bit. I think there's still quite a bit left in the tank, actually, with Drew Brees. I really do. I think he's got another. I think if he wants to, I think he's got another solid really, really good 2 years left in him. And I expect the Saints to show up at home this week. This might be one of those games where you would say, well, is this going to be a blowout, or is this going to be 30 plus points on both sides? I actually don't. I think this game is in the 20s. I think they're scoring, but I think it's in the 20s on both sides. I think it's a very close game. But I like the Saints in this one, 27 to 24. So I've got it close, but I like them at home. I like Kamara to get a lot of touches. I like him to probably get in the end zone twice. I think Michael Thomas gets in the end zone once. I think Breeze looks sharp. I think the Texans will look sharp too. But again, New Orleans at home. I like that. I like New Orleans at home.
All right.
That's just a good bet.
All right. Sounds good. All right. So we have, what did you have for Atlanta, Minnesota? What was the score? Do you remember?
33-25 Minnesota. 33-25.
All right. So we have a couple of different picks here. You have the Patriots. I have the Steelers. You have the Saints. I have the Texans. So we have some good opposition here. All right. Other than that, I think that's pretty much it for our show today. Unless there's anything else that you wanted to mention. I know I just finished the Umbrella Academy, and I do want to touch on that, but I'm not going to talk about it today. We'll talk about it on a day that we have more sorts to talk about.
Very, very quickly, I saw Ready or Not the other night.
Oh, okay.
Which is it's kind of like Clue meets, I don't even know, but let's just say there's a lot more. There's a I don't want to give anything away, but how about like Clue meets No, if I say it, it'll give it away, and I think I don't want to call it a plot twist, but this was a very actually enjoyable movie. It was actually a little more enjoyable than I thought it would be. There was a lot of comedy. There was a lot of killing. I think you may know the premise of the movie, basically, right? Which is that this young, very beautiful woman marries into this very rich family, and one of the things that you have to do to become indoctrinated into the family is play a game at midnight. And she draws the card for the one game you don't want to draw, which is hide and seek, because hide and seek is the one game that requires the family to actually kill her when they find her. But she doesn't obviously know that until the game starts. And
oh my God.
Then there's a lot of attempted murder going on. But there's a lot of funny sequences in it. And it's certainly an original story, I'll say that, with a little bit of a plot twist at the end that a little bit darker of a twist that I saw coming, but also like they kind of made it hokey in a way too, though. So it was it was enjoyable. It was entertaining. It was a fun movie. I liked it. I liked the dialogue. There was a lot of swearing in it, which of course I enjoyed. So especially the girl, her name was Grace. I forgot who played her. I actually thought it was Margot Robbie, but it's not Margot Robbie. I can't remember her name, but she looks a lot like Margot Robbie though. But she was actually really good, and she swore a lot too, especially like as the movie started to go on, and it was pretty funny. But I enjoyed this. I really did. I'm gonna actually give it a 7 out of 10.
Oh, okay. Solid.
If listen, it's a fun movie. If you want to go and just kind of be entertained and laugh and see some pretty entertaining death scenes, check it out. It's pretty cool. There's, like I said, there's like a little bit of Clue, a little bit of maybe some almost Final Destination in terms of some of the deaths, and then I don't want to say another thing because that will give some of that end plot away. But entertaining, fun, movie.
All right. Sounds good. All right. Thank you guys for watching, checking us out today. We really appreciate it. We'll be back again on Monday, probably a little bit earlier than normal, probably like closer to 9:45. I have to leave at 10:40, so we'll be probably starting that show a little bit earlier, ending a little bit earlier than normal. But we hope you enjoyed watching the show today. We will be back, like I said, on Monday. And you can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/Shane and the Bryman, or on Twitter at Shane and Bryman. You can find me on Twitter at Einhornersfinkel.
You can find me on Twitter at _Bry_man. 2 underscores, 3 words, 9 letters.
Wow.
I tried to keep it simple. Well, listen, it's Friday. It's the end of the week.
Friday.
And it's also the end of the show. And in the words of the great Tony Stark, we've reached the end of our program. Part of the journey is the end. So we will see you on Monday. And thanks for your time today. Oh, I haven't heard this one in a while.
I know, it's been a while. So yeah, thank you. We'll see you again soon.
Stay classy, Planet Globe.
We'll be back Monday. Talk NFL.
Monday.
I guess before Monday Night Football, we'll be here. So that's cool.
Let's see if the Yankees can put the final nail in the Red Sox coffin this weekend. End it.
That'd be great. You haven't heard this one in a while either. Oh yeah, we did this one last week, right? How about this one? And then you get the...
I like that one, actually. It's like a plane landing.